sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. This is a podcast where a stand-up comedian talks to her sister, who is a therapist. The stand-up comedian part is me, Virginia Jones, and the therapist is my sister, Laura Ryan.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Snark Shark, Virginia Jones.
Just because she's the therapist and I'm the stand-up doesn't mean she's not sometimes funny, and it doesn't mean I'm not sometimes insightful.
Some would say that I'm often funny.
Okay, I have it all. Shout out to super listener Anna, who I had lunch with yesterday, who gave you nice compliments.
Thank you, Anna.
A shout out to Zach. Even though we don't have a Zach's Corner, there's always Zach's Corner in our hearts.
That's what I was going to say.
We are on the same page. I was talking to my friend Ed, who I haven't caught up with in a while, and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm behind on My Sister's a Therapist. I need to catch up." And I said, "You know what? The great thing about having a podcast is it's not like doing a show. I don't know whether you're listening or not."
I was thinking the great thing about having a podcast is you can always catch up. They're just out there in the universe.
On this podcast, we take turns picking a topic, researching a topic, and presenting it to the other. Now, Laura has a little bit of head start today because we tried to record this yesterday.
It's true. I was having some technical difficulties, but while I have you here, I just want everyone to know that if you like this podcast, you need to tell a stranger, tell your mailman, tell the guy who expresses the anal glands of your dog.
Tell your therapist.
Tell your therapist. This is a
Tell
great
your
podcast.
dog's therapist.
Tell the dog who's been traumatized to tell all of his friends and all of his therapists. Also, if you're interested in having a show topic that's yours, hello at mysistersatherapist.com. You want to give us money? Hire us at mysistersatherapist.com.
Please write us a review wherever you listen, unless it's a bad review. We don't want it.
You can write us a review at YouTube,
Audible,
Spotify,
Apple, and that might be it.
Virginia, since I get to be the dumbbell this week, what's our topic?
Our topic today is something we've talked about tangentially. We've skipped across it. This week, I really want to drill down on outrage addiction.
You mean like the guy who wrote me a bunch of messages about Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, you did not understand the appropriateness of the beast's behavior because he was the Lord of the Castle. Arguing with me about a 40-year-old cartoon.
If you think about it, the story of Beauty and the Beast is, 200 years old?
And the story makes its own gravy. The reason the beast is he's an a-hole.
He's an unlikable character. We're not supposed to be saying, well, Belle's father shouldn't have stolen a rose.
But I think in a world where a lot of people are trying to convince themselves they voted for the right candidate, it makes sense that you're trying to make a hero out of the beast. He's not so bad.
It makes sense that you're trying to figure out how to twist a 300-year-old French fictional character into a hero.
So, Laura, here's a definition that I found from Psychology Today. Outrage addiction is a psychological and behavioral dependency on self-righteous anger fueled by social media and news algorithms that reward contentious content with dopamine hits.
I think I'm definitely guilty of this. I have a lot of outrage, mostly about what our government is doing.
I 100% have done this, and I have a joke about it where I get in a fight where I'm really, really angry with someone on TikTok who turns out to be a 12-year-old who's into Roblox, and there's no reason for me to fight with that person.
Well, you might fight with them about how boring Roblox is and that they're wasting their lives. That's what I fight about.
In my joke, I talk about how good it feels to judge someone on the internet for being wrong. We talk about moral superiority or self-righteousness. It does feel like you're touching the face of God as you yell at a stranger.
I don't find that. I find it very jarring and I don't like doing it. It makes me really uncomfortable.
I did it a lot, of course, during COVID where there was nothing else to do. And I fought with a lot of people about masks and about vaccines. I still have all those opinions. To the person on TikTok who told me after I got the vaccine, you'll be dead in 2 years. Nanny, nanny, boo, boo, I guess. You're right. It's very dysregulating when you're fighting with a stranger on the internet. And I would spend my day going back and forth and staying in a state of agitation and dysregulation. But also it felt kind of good to be amped up about something.
I got really worn out from that because my best friend was married to my biggest hater when it came to all of these topics. He would begin with the rhetoric, and I found it really exhausting and frustrating because I don't like screaming at walls. I find that very irritating.
It's pointless. For so many people, the argument is pointless. There might be a point if you're talking to your own child or another child the idea is still very fresh in their brain, the wrong idea. And you can maybe talk them out of it, give them some facts. As we talked about before, facts do not change minds.
Reference, you can lead a horse to water.
You can give someone all the proofs they want, but if it doesn't align with their self-image and their belief about themselves, they will not accept it. I had a partner who was very, very into this and would tell me these hero stories about the battle he had fought on a World of Warcraft group or on Facebook in general. I finally asked him, will you either stop arguing on Facebook or will you maybe take a break from Facebook? Because I don't think this is good for you. And I know that there's no point to it.
I think he was getting high off his own supply. When you have untreated depression, you can either go internal and get really sad and feel terrible, or you can externalize it and turn it into rage.
The term righteous indignation is very important because those two things, they don't just go together, they feed each other. I feel indignant and that makes me feel righteous. This is how the Crusades happened. In 1095, we were trying to assist the Byzantine Empire in resisting Muslim advances and to reclaim the Holy Land, specifically Jerusalem, for Christianity. How did that work out? Not great. As these knights and soldiers were talking about it, they were amping up and saying, well, there's no way we can let these people fall to Muslims. We have to secure this for Christianity. And they reached out and with their gloved hand touched the face of God and became empowered.
That's part of the reason why America exists, because we were trying to force our opinions. When I say we, I mean dumb white people were trying to force our opinions on the native people because we thought we were smarter than they were. Turns out that was wrong too.
Outrage gives you a dopamine hit. You get a neurochemical reward. It feels good because it aligns you with who you feel is your people. I'm not one of them. I'm one of these over here. And a lot of outrage addiction online is virtue signaling. You find a small thing wrong with what a person says online and crucify them. Other people get on your side and then other people are on the other side and you're all fighting back and forth. And it's meaningless.
Speaking of holy wars, and speaking of dumb people getting enraged about even dumber crap, I recently posted a Sora TikTok where I was dressed as Joan of Arc fighting the good fight for 2026 and talking about the Frosty Boys and misogyny. And some person on the internet decided to let me know that Joan of Arc was French and my video had a British accent. And I said, listen, I didn't decide. Sora decided that I had a British accent. I had nothing to do with that. And why are you bothering me about that? You're missing the point completely.
Also, I am not Joan of Arc.
Nor do I think that I'm Joan of Arc.
You would need to be an inpatient for sure. People love to find a small thing that they can pick apart and yell about. I think it gives them a sense of power. Like you said, even though outrage addiction can feel good in the moment, it leads to chronic stress and a distorted perception of reality. And I know that the current situation we are in politically, the us versus them, is because every aspect of our lives is oriented towards this cycle. Every politician running for office does not feel that they can just say, if you like these things and you believe in these concepts, please vote for me because this is what's important to me and this is what I'll be fighting for. Every campaign email is, if we don't get $20 tonight, 500 dogs will be killed on the White House lawn. They have to amp it up because that's what works.
I think that's actually true, though. That's the difference.
But a lot of those dogs, Laura, were bad dogs. And I don't think that gets talked about enough.
Did they have bad attitudes? That's the first question that comes to my mind.
The key aspects of outrage addiction. One is brain chemistry. The brain perceives self-righteous anger similarly to a drug, producing dopamine when we feel we are on the moral high ground. The reward cycle. Anger provides a temporary rush, a sense of belonging to a tribe, and a feeling of validation or superiority over others. Media amplification, and that's what makes it different today. Social media platforms create rage bait, generating high engagement through outrage, which often translates to higher profits. We talked about this before. So much of TikTok is girls pretending to catch their boyfriends on Tinder and videoing their boyfriends being abusive to them, but it's clear everyone's acting in it. That gets much more engagement than a girl in a pretty dress having a really nice time.
It's because we're animals and we have really old brains, and those really old brains go straight to lizard as quickly as possible.
If we're creating paths in our brains, neural pathways, outrage addiction is cementing a link between the feel-good part of our brain and the lizard brain. but it can lead to outrage fatigue, leaving people exhausted, bitter, and anxious where you are for many things. You just don't have the energy to get worked up about things anymore.
My feed, no matter how many times I restart it on TikTok, it almost always ends with men are narcissists and we need to kill them all.
And you say to yourself, although technically I agree, I'm not yet to the point where I'm ready to kill all men.
I'm really tired of hearing women's stories about having terrible husbands. I believe you, girl. I don't have the spoons to give a crap about it anymore. I'm too tired.
In the long term, this addiction can lead to distorted reality. It causes people to lose sight of nuances, overreact to issues that are minor, and ignore contrary facts. My favorite thing is when I'll see other comedians who have spoken out about something that they find important to them. For those of you not saying anything about gun violence, Palestine, the Punchline Comedy Club, whatever it is, we're taking notes. Dude, saying something is not an action. Posting an opinion is not the same as donating your time or your money or your energy towards a cause. It's just yelling out into the darkness.
And words just on their own have very little meaning. Like we said earlier, if I'm just hopping on the internet to scream about Palestine, I'm not changing anybody's minds.
Because the people who agree with you are already in your feed, and the people who disagree with you are never going to see your post.
And this is why I hate learning about global conflicts that I can't do anything about. There was a post today on TikTok about how Sudanese children are starving. I can't do anything about that. And now I feel really bad.
It's true. We can't seem to control anything about the war in Iran. We can't deny money or say nobody ever voted for this. Congress did not permit this. We are powerless. And getting worked up about something that you are absolutely powerless to control is a recipe for unhappiness.
I was listening to another TikTok, shocker, about the Underground Railroad and what everyone had to do to make that happen. The difference between what we're in now is there's clear steps that can be taken. We need to remove Black people from the South and move them to the North. Okay, that's doable, specific, measurable. I know how I can do that. We're faced with a genocide happening in Palestine. We're faced with this Iranian war for absolutely nothing. We're faced with a president who's actively stealing all of our money and overturning voters' rights. What am I supposed to do about that?
I do find it amusing that he seems to be of the opinion that whenever he's unpopular, he can just pretend to get shot at.
It's working.
It's like a toddler that threatens to run away. He's going to wind up getting pretend shot at every week.
I hope that he gets pretend shot at somebody who can aim better.
And that's the joke that ended the partnership of Tenacious D. We've talked about being in an echo chamber, and Twitter was really bad about this because Twitter would get very upset about things like Bean Dad, Charlie Sheen, or J.K. Rowling. If you're in the world of Twitter, you think, oh, well, that person's canceled. We don't have to worry about that person anymore. Louis C.K. is canceled. No one outside of Twitter cares about the things that have been decided on this platform.
I saw Aziz Ansari on Saturday Night Live this week. I guess he's not canceled anymore.
Nobody cares about that anymore. I was talking to someone about something really horrible that a comic had done. Everyone seems to have stopped caring, so what can I do? I did have the opportunity to work with comedian and podcaster legend Jimmy Pardo. We were at a small theater in Portland, and he was like, yeah, I can't do the comedy club in Portland because they have sexual assaulters up all the time, and I don't want to be on the same poster as them. It is strange how alternative comedy used to mean you were maybe going to play the ukulele or read a letter on stage, and club comedy was regular set-up punch wearing a suit jacket. And now the difference between alternative and club comedy is, are you cool with working with sexual assaulters or not?
I think the real shame is the fact that nobody's wearing blazers in either group.
Because we have discovered that this tool works. This tool bumps you up in the algorithm, makes you press a button, makes you donate money. We have developed an attention economy. We're being sold political candidates this way. We're being sold clothing, Girl Scout cookies. Buy this shirt if you are anti J.K. Rowling. Laura is a sucker for this. She will buy many shirts to assuage her outrage about many social absurdities. We're sold movies, books based on rancor. Some fake issues include the war on Christmas, Janet Jackson's boob, drag queen story hour, and of course, the number of drag queens who have essayed children is extremely low, and the number of cis white Christian men who have done it is extremely high.
Look to your pastors and your political candidates.
Trans rights, gender neutral bathrooms, these are topics that can whip up the base and are being used as a talking point again and again trans women in sports when it doesn't actually affect that many people. Do you think that spending $400 million on the president's ballroom that he said we weren't going to pay for is going to affect more or fewer people than kids having a drag queen read to them?
I think the ballroom is something that every American is really going to enjoy and get a lot out of. I'm going to go with the ballroom on this one.
If we start yelling at him about the war in Iran, he's just going to have to pretend to get shot again. He'll just be getting angry and angrier. I would hate to have someone try to assassinate me over this.
I'm just wondering how we can do a tie-in because his fake shooting was a way to promote the ballroom. Is overturning the Epstein files somehow connected to, I need storage for the Epstein files in my ballroom?
The first shooting was connected to the election. He wasn't doing very well, and people were talking about the Epstein files. He got a good photo out of it. He had to rally the base. They are trying to kill this man who is standing up for our rights, not to have drag queens reading to our children. This quote from Pete Williams: "We love being angry because it makes us feel smart. It makes us feel like we care more than the next person because we're more into the facts than they are, that we have the necessary ideas to fix everything, that we're the ones that need to be in charge, that when we call someone a Nazi or a sexist or a bigot, it's not our opinion, it's a fact. When we call someone out, or worse, try to ruin their career, it's because they deserve it." What do you think makes people feel smart about being angry? Being an angry person doesn't make you look smart. It makes you look like a child.
I think you have to understand that men are only allowed to access one emotion. This emotion is heavily accessed by men. So they have to make it something. They have to make it seem noble or brave or interesting in some way. Otherwise, they don't get to have any emotions.
A lot of this aligns with my feelings about men on the internet. There's all kinds of special interest Facebook groups where men spend all day arguing about which Star Wars films are canon, what the best gangster movies are, and things that do not matter, that do not affect the outside world, don't affect the makers of the films, don't affect other viewers, but they'll set up little goals for themselves. What makes you a real Lego collector? What makes you a serious toy collector? These are all interests. You don't have to win at these things. It just does not have to be a competition. They seem to be seeking out reasons to elevate themselves and to bully people who they do not feel to be as good as themselves.
Right, because it's the hierarchy of the patriarchy. I remember my boyfriend didn't talk about sports all the time, but he did talk about record collections and he talked about movies and artsy things. Have you seen this? It's like a well, actually way of being, and which I absolutely despise. I feel like the well, actually attitude is one that I would like to make illegal.
Yeah, the outrage. Oh, you haven't seen all of Yorgos Lanthimos' films? No, I haven't. But it's okay because it's entertainment. Even if it's highbrow entertainment, it's entertainment. These are the things that we are using to occupy us, to take up time before we die.
I think most of us feel like we don't have anything left to fight for. There is a war on, and pretty soon we're going to be drafting teenagers, which is making me really excited for my son. Because I'm sure by the time he's 18, this will still be going on.
Or some version of it.
There's no clear-cut way to fight for anything. Everything sucks.
Right.
And it's being beaten into apathy. And I think maybe this is the only way that we can feel something.
Part of the conservative playbook is flooding the zone, that Trump does so much weird crap all the time that you really can't focus on any one thing. And when you think he's done the worst thing on earth, tomorrow he'll do something even worse. People will get outraged, feed each other, and go through this cycle of outrage and exhaustion, because there is very little the individual can do. Our friend Mark Manson has an article online called "Living in the Age of Outrage." He says, whatever you believe, if you believe that vaccines are good, if you believe that people never walked on the moon, if you believe that Martha Stewart is a mastermind criminal who was a fall guy for a tax fraud, but really has done much worse crimes, you're going to be able to find articles supporting that on the internet. You've experienced this. You kept having an argument with the same man. You can find articles, and he could as well. Absolutely contrary points of view, absolutely contrary political standpoint. You can send each other articles all day long.
Ultimately, the facts really don't matter. There's this guy on TikTok who also has a YouTube page. Have you seen him? He's 22, and all he does all day is ask people why they voted for Trump and then tell them with clear, defined facts all the ways that they're completely wrong.
And that's just for us. It makes us feel good to see him taking these people down. But I guarantee you, when those people leave the conversation, it hasn't changed their opinion one bit. They would vote for Trump again, probably, because they have grown to identify with the party that he represents. They've gotten whipped up about one of the issues that doesn't matter. They're really angry about trans women winning swimming competitions at a collegiate level, which is never anything they cared about before.
When I watch Dean Withers taking on Trump supporters, there's something beautiful about it because he has an eloquence and a poise and this ability to debate that I could never dream of having. Dean, you take one for the team because I am not getting in the mud with Republicans about the dumbest crap. He got in a debate with this woman specifically about the Alex Pretty situation. She was saying he shouldn't have brought a gun. He brings up Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, who cares?
When you get into a debate with someone who's losing, they will return to a couple points. One, oh, I don't care. Or two, it's between me and God, which means they have no additional argument.
I recently had an aura photograph taken, and the woman who was reading it said, wow, you must get really bummed out about societal issues like housing and politics. And I said, yeah, I do.
Sure do. Thank you for noticing that.
Thanks for noticing.
Because there's yellow around me in this photograph.
Well,
you know
because
that
she noticed that I was heart-centered, and that means that I care about people, which apparently not everyone does.
Alex Pretty represents a giant failure for conservatives because they can't spin him bad. He was someone who worked at a veterans hospital. He was someone who cared about other people and people who the conservatives pretend to care about, the military. They'll find some way to dismiss him. Didn't he live with his mom for a long time? Didn't he play video games more than he should? To a lot of people, that shuts down the conversation. Oh, yeah, you're right. He did deserve to get shot in cold blood in the middle of the street. Our president will throw up a handful of confetti to disguise the fact that he's going to Iran or taking down historical monuments because they're pro-abolition. He creates BS for us to become outraged on.
I found something new to be outraged about this morning.
Oh, fun.
One of the founders of Project 2025 was a historian, and his area of expertise is the history of slavery. He's using all of that knowledge to try to basically recreate that scenario.
That's going to benefit a certain amount of people. Have you ever seen in your social circle people who seek out drama or moral outrage?
Yes, and I avoid them like the plague.
As a younger person, I would get very caught up in this, especially in comedy. People will come to me and say, well, this person stole my joke. This person stole my room. This person shorted me money. And I have to tell them, I can't take action unless it's essay. That's my limit to which I won't work with someone. I can't not work with someone or not be friends with someone because you're mad at them.
I had a friend who was regularly enraged, and we almost got kicked out of our hotel because we were swearing and yelling and being obnoxious. It was a group of women, and our waitress came over and said, this is a family establishment.
You
and
just shut the F up.
And she started fighting her. And I thought, wow, I don't need to do this. I understand that you're having a lot of feelings, but we've all been drinking and it's a really long way home. And I really need to sleep in this hotel tonight. So you're going to have to go to the bathroom or something.
Chill out. In my tiny observation, the people who spend a lot of time focused on drama with other people, writing big screeds on Facebook that no one's going to read about this thing or that thing being done to them, are people who don't have very much going on in their lives. They have a lot of space to fill, and they will fill it with what I consider to be BS.
It's filling them with emotions. If you're a person with a penis, you're only allowed to have one emotion, that is.
You are allowed to have two penises, but you have to grow them yourself. So I found this quote by a guy named Geher. At the end of the day, humans are complex apes motivated by a broad array of emotional and psychological processes that evolved across thousands of generations of selection. And then he references an article he himself wrote, which I find hilarious. In short, he says Geher, 2014, humans are just as imperfect as any other organisms, butterflies, dandelions, sharks, paramecia, that have been fortunate enough to pass the hurdles of natural selection across the past 3.6 billion or so years.
I reference this a lot with my clients. Everybody says that we are cousins to chimpanzees, but we're actually brothers and sisters. We have more DNA in common with them than each other sometimes. So there's this story that I always tell about a young chimp living in a zoo with a bunch of other chimps, and they were all gathered together for a birthday celebration for one of the chimps. This chimp was mad because it wasn't his birthday celebration.
Right. He wasn't getting a special treatment.
So he runs up to the zookeeper who's holding a birthday cake, doing his best, and he just rips his balls off right there. That's my brother. So I give myself a pat on the back that if I'm not ripping balls off every day because it's not my birthday, I'm doing pretty good.
Doing okay. Your addiction to outrage is ruining your life. It's making your life bad. It's isolating you from other people. It's cutting you off from relationships. And it's not productive the way it feels productive.
It's also destroying your body because you're flooding your body with adrenaline all the time. And that's really bad for all of your major organs.
Adrenaline is a sometimes drug. You need it when you're being assaulted or mugged. You can't get that level of amped up because someone doesn't agree with your choice of Disney movie. You have to pick your battles there. Another thing that I see happening on Threads, which is, I think, why it will never be Twitter, which was destroyed forever by the richest man in the world. I see a lot of people who are my friends finding conservative people post a picture of a pretty blonde girl and go, and this is what the face of Republican conservatism looks like. And here's an overweight they, them. This is what the liberals want. And then my friends will go after them because they know it makes them visible.
All you have to do is say, that blonde woman is AI.
And you are paying for feet pics from someone who's not real. It's depressing because this works. This is a good way to get attention. Saying something snappy to someone that you are politically on the other side of is going to get eyeballs because people think, I wish I could be that snappy. I wish I could come up with a fun comeback. If it's not solving the problem and it's not changing their mind, what is it doing?
Lets me feel justified and lets me live in my judgmental little tower over here where I get to feel like I'm smarter and better than other people.
How do you break the cycle of outrage addiction?
Step away from the laptop.
Yeah. Take breaks from social media and news, particularly in the morning or before bed. This is something that I've seen people talk a lot about, that they were sleeping badly until they stopped looking at their phone after 9 p.m. You can't see the most horrible news in the world and then have a peaceful night of sleep. Cultivating empathy. This is something I try to do. Try to understand the context and perspective of the other side to break the cycle of black and white thinking. Now, I'm not going to subscribe to their newsletter. I'm not going to engage with them politically, but I try to understand that we're all just apes. This ape has been told some different things than my ape self.
Speak for yourself. I'm a chimp.
Mindfulness, recognize the physical sensations of anger and choose not to indulge in the outrage cycle. This is, I think, what did it for me. I was scrolling on my phone and scrolling and waiting for someone to respond to me. And I was so furious. What am I doing? What is this? And I'm going to tell hero stories later about the fight that I got in about who the best character in Rocky Horror Picture Show is. This is meaningless. Focus on reality. Focus on personal relationships and tangible, positive actions rather than fighting with strangers online.
I think the problem is that a lot of these folks don't have that. When I think about your ex, he didn't have a lot of personal relationships. He didn't have a lot of meaning in his life.
He had a weird friend.
Yeah, he had a weird friend, which isn't really the same as being rich with personal relationships.
If we strip everything else away, life is personal relationships and life is sharing information and love and creativity with other people.
I was always told that life is like a box of chocolates.
I never watched that movie.
Is that from a movie?
Oh, you thought you made that up? If you find yourself getting entrenched in online discussion that you recognize is not good for you and only makes you feel good in the very short term, try and go outside. Touch grass, as the youngsters say.
Touch grass. Call your mom. If you don't have a mom, call a friend. If you don't have a friend, go to an AA meeting and you'll meet one.
I went out for a friend's birthday party on Tuesday. There was a huge group of Gen Z kids. I was so jealous because I remember being that age. You were just friends with whoever was around. How did they get that many people to go out with them? When I'm doing comedy and I see a group of people my age at a table, I always ask, whose birthday is it? And one of them raises their hand and says, how do you know? This is the only way to get a group of people out.
When you're over 30, you don't go out anymore unless it's a birthday or someone's moving.
Correct. So, Laura, what are your final thoughts on this topic of outrage addiction?
I think gratitude is a good way to avoid outrage addiction, focusing on the things in my life that are going well and trying to be appreciative of that. It's human nature to sort of bat away the good things and the things that I do love and care about. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but I was at HEB and I was thinking about the people that I really love. And it's hard to think about that and be angry. If you find yourself spending a whole bunch of time and energy thinking about strangers that you'll never meet, then you really do need to work on your perspective. I think it's important to realize that there are only so many days that you have on this earth, and spending a lot of time being really angry at people is a waste of time. I like to ask myself when I'm getting into really dumb fights about anything, really, am I going to give two craps about this in a week? In a month, in a year? And if the answer is no, then I need to not give a crap about it now.
Cher's mother had similar advice. If it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter now. I can look back on things that I was incredibly passionate about, pro or con, that were kind of nonsense.
I always have to go back to the man who called me a dumb lard of fat.
We do. We do indeed.
He did the opposite for me. His rage made me laugh. So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on the addiction to outrage?
It's like junk food. It makes you feel good for about 2 seconds and then sick the rest of the day. A funny thing about my haters online, and I've had them everywhere. I've had them on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook.
Man on the street.
A lot of comments and vitriol that I've received from people, I've plumbed those depths and made jokes out of them. Someone said something asinine to me at a comedy show, and I made a 5-minute closer that I used for years. Don't be mean to me because I might spin some gold out of it.
She's a regular Rumpelstiltskin over here.
If you find yourself isolated from people, and if you find yourself looking for conflicts to get involved in, I would suggest you find something else to do with your time. It is bad for you. It's bad for your health. It's bad for your mental health. It's bad for your friendships.
So, Virginia, if people are tired of screaming at their laptops and they're interested in going to a feminist stand-up comedian's show, how would one in the Oregon area go about doing that?
You can check out my website, which is www.badinia.com. I keep a full calendar there. I also promote my shows on Instagram, where I'm under Badinia. Laura, where can people find you online should they wish to do so?
They can find me at my professional website, lauraryan.org. They can also find me at my unprofessional TikTok account. I am Laura Ryan.
Extremely unprofessional.
It is quite unprofessional.
Joan of Arc was not British.
I actually responded to that. I said, yeah, I know. Her name is Joan d'Arc. She was from Arc.
So was Noah.
Oh, that's true. That was a new address for him. If they're interested in the show, they can go to our Instagram account, My Sister's a Therapist Instagram, and they can always go to our YouTube and also our website, mysister'satherapist.com.
Laura, now's the part of the show where sometimes you will share a nice comment or email or just a note someone has tacked to your door that made you feel good about the podcast. Do you have something to share this week?
I most certainly do. This is a short and sweet one from Anjali. Love your podcast. Thanks, Anjali.
That's all we needed. And in the words of our founder, Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye.